Hello, my name is Tej van Pettinger from Economics Help, and today I'd like to look at the strength of the Russian ruble despite economic sanctions. So when sanctions hit in March 2022, there was a very sharp fall in the ruble for understandable reasons. It looked like the Russian economy was getting cut off, and the world seemed, at least the Western world, seemed pretty keen to restrict exports to Russia and to cut back on Russian exports. So this isolation led to a fall in the ruble as people lost confidence in the Russian economy. But since March 2022, the ruble has staged quite a remarkable recovery, and it's ironically one of the best performing currencies in the world. So why is this when all the sanctions are in place? Well, first of all, the price of oil and gas is near record highs. So whilst Russia is able to keep exporting natural gas and oil, its oil revenues are doing very well. And ironically, the war in Ukraine, the uncertainty around Russia has helped push up oil and gas prices, which has helped the Russian export revenue. And when Russian export revenue is strong, this increases the value of the ruble. Secondly, imports into Russia have fallen quite significantly, and this is one area where sanctions have been quite effective. And when imports fall, it actually means that the Russian economy is keeping more of its money where it is. It's not selling rubles to buy foreign currency. And so this fall in the supply of ruble on exchange markets leads to its increase in value. So this also shows that the value of a currency doesn't show the whole state of the economy, because the fall in imports due to Western sanctions are seriously affecting Russian manufacturing. There's already a shortage of components for cars because they can't buy the necessary inputs. And this will affect Russian output, especially in the medium and longer term. But the irony is, by restricting imports, the value of the ruble has increased. But it doesn't reflect an increase in living standards, in fact the opposite. The third is that although there's been a significant fall in Russian imports, 50, 60, 70%, Russian exports are still quite strong. They've been able to export their main natural resources of oil, gas and coal because demand is quite inelastic. It's hard for Europe to find alternative sources of energy, especially natural gas would take quite a few years to develop alternative energy sources. And so although Europe and the US have imposed sanctions on Russia, which are quite far-ranging, Europe is still importing a lot of gas and oil. Now this might change with the European Union trying to cut back on oil imports, but it will definitely take quite a long time to reduce gas imports. So sales of oil and gas are quite strong, and even if Europe do reduce their purchase of Russian oil, I'm sure that Russia will still be able to sell to other countries like China and India, Brazil, and even if it's at a discount to the world price, revenues will still be quite strong. Another factor that has helped increase the value of the ruble is capital controls. So in the aftermath of sanctions, the Russian central bank wanted to keep the value of the currency strong, so it imposed controls on the amount of foreign currency that business and consumers could buy. And exporting firms had to keep 80% of their foreign currency earnings in the ruble. So this limited the amount of capital flight. It limited the ability for Russians to buy euros and dollars even if they wanted to. So again, this increases the value of the ruble. Lastly, interest rates were increased to 20% in March 2022 to strengthen the value of the ruble. High interest rates make it more attractive to keep your money in Russian banks, reduces the incentive to try to save it elsewhere, although there are difficulties in doing that anyway. But the high interest rates increase the value of the ruble and also help to reduce inflation expectations. So although inflation in Russia is still running quite high, the Russian central bank have indicated they're willing to put up interest rates in order to prevent inflation getting out of control. And in fact, they've been able to reduce interest rates since that peak of 20%, and currently in May they've fallen to 11%. So the ruble is quite strong, and this partly reflects the high price of oil and gas, but also it reflects a big fall in Russian imports, which is reducing Russian living standards. Now, the outlook for the ruble over the next few months is uncertain, because sanctions will increasingly bite, and the Russian economy is likely to see a big fall in gross domestic product and ability to produce goods. And over time, Europe will increasingly diversify away from Russian oil and gas, and this will be a permanent shift. I think that Europe won't want to go back to relying on Russian energy. So that will definitely affect Russian export revenues over the long term. And also, there's no guarantee that the high price of oil and gas will remain. The price of oil has always been very volatile, and if you look at past trends, we see many peaks and troughs. And if there was a big fall in oil prices, perhaps because of the economic downturn or increased supply from elsewhere in the world, then Russia exports would, the revenue would suffer because of a fall in the price of oil.